The photograph looks harmless at first. A large house stands calmly against the Massachusetts sky, its towers balanced, its windows dark but orderly. The lawn is trimmed. The stonework is proud. Nothing in the frame suggests panic or violence. Yet the longer the image is studied, the harder it becomes to escape the sense that something inside the house was watching the camera. Taken in 1895 near Salem, the photograph survived not because it was admired, but because it was filed away as evidence in a case no one knew how to close. When rediscovered more than a century later, it forced historians to confront a truth that had been quietly buried under wealth, influence, and silence. The Blackwood mansion was constructed in 1847 for Nathaniel Blackwood, a merchant whose fortune flowed from overseas trade. The house was meant to display permanence and control. 47 rooms rose above ground, while beneath them the basement extended far beyond what the exterior suggested. From the beginning, the mansion was designed not only to impress, but to conceal. Nathaniel married Eleanor Ashford, a woman from a rigid Puritan lineage. Together, they had 7 children, names recorded carefully in birth registries. But the record fractures quickly. School rolls list only 3. Wills mention fewer still. 4 children simply vanished from documentation, leaving no graves, no explanations, no acknowledged endings. At the center of what followed was Theodore Blackwood, the eldest son. He returned to the mansion in 1872, newly graduated from Harvard Medical School. To the town, his return was a mark of pride. A doctor educated at the highest level had come home. To the house itself, his arrival marked the beginning of something far more dangerous. Theodore's private journals, uncovered decades later, reveal a man obsessed with the limits of the human body. He wrote not of patients, but of subjects. Pain was not something to relieve, but something to measure. Consciousness was not sacred, but a variable to be manipulated. He believed true medical progress required freedom from moral restraint. The household changed as his experiments expanded. Eleanor Blackwood withdrew from public life, appearing only in the pale hours before sunrise. Neighbors saw her walk in the gardens, whispering to someone who never answered back. Church attendance ceased. Visitors stopped coming. The mansion became sealed, socially and physically. 1889. The isolation cracked briefly when a young Irish woman named Mary Patterson accepted a position as governess. Within weeks, she wrote a desperate letter describing screams from underground rooms and children who should not have been alive. The letter never reached its destination. It was found more than a century later, sealed inside a wall. Mary herself was never seen again. After her disappearance, no new servants were hired. Medical shipments continued to arrive, labeled as research supplies, anesthetics, preservatives, chemicals meant to slow decay rather than prevent it. Theodore explained everything as scientific necessity. The town accepted his authority. Respectability shielded him better than any locked door. The fire came in October of 1895. Flames tore through the east wing, exposing a hidden passage behind a cabinet. Firefighters descended and entered a world that defied comprehension. The basement was not a single room, but a complex. Tables stained dark with old blood. Instruments arranged with clinical precision. Cells built to restrain living bodies. Stone walls clawed by human nails. Records found at the scene confirmed what the environment suggested. Theodore documented experiments meant to prolong awareness under unbearable pain. He described victims in stages, not as people, but as processes. One entry detailed 17 days of survival after invasive brain surgery without anesthesia. The writing never faltered. The handwriting never shook. Eleanor's own diary completed the picture. She called the victims' offerings. She described their suffering as necessary. She believed the work elevated the family beyond ordinary morality. In her words, knowledge justified everything. When investigators re-examined the 1895 photograph, new details emerged. Magnification revealed figures pressed against upper windows. Faces pale, distorted, watching. These were not photographic flaws. They were people caught by a long exposure, alive at the moment the shutter closed. Excavations around the mansion confirmed irregular soil patterns. 19 bodies were uncovered at first. Later, digs revealed dozens more, including children. Bones bore evidence of surgical intervention performed while victims were conscious. Tunnels extended far beyond the original footprint of the house, connecting rooms built for rituals rather than residence. Theodore was found dead in his laboratory, having taken his own life. His final words suggested continuation beyond death. Eleanor was found seated calmly as the fire consumed the house, refusing rescue. Her final days were marked by whispered conversations with empty corners and laughter no one could explain. The other Blackwood children were never found. Evidence suggests some may have been used as early test subjects, erased from records as thoroughly as their bodies were hidden. DNA analysis of bones discovered nearby later confirmed familial connections among child victims. The mansion was demolished. The land was left untouched. Reports of lights, screams, and figures persisted for decades. Archaeological work in the late 20th century confirmed that the scale of the crimes had been underestimated. More disturbing still was the realization that Theodore may not have acted alone. Correspondence suggests a network of physicians who believed ethics hindered progress. Disappearances with similar patterns occurred across New England for decades afterward. Today, nothing stands where the mansion once loomed. Only a plaque marks the site, naming victims without naming those who destroyed them. The photograph remains, not as a relic of architecture, but as proof that horror does not always announce itself. Sometimes it hides in symmetry, silence, and respectability. Every shadow in that image represents a life cut short. Every window reflects a secret that waited generations to be seen. The Blackwood mansion did not collapse because it was haunted. It collapsed because it was human.